I'm Ilya Marchenko.
I'm Dennis Kudla.
I'm Jesper de Jong.
I'm Henry Laaksen.
I am Francisco Cerundolo, and you are listening to the Game to Love podcast.
Last year,
Novak Djokovic has left Australia after losing his appeal against his visa cancellation.
He knew the conditions since a lot of months ago.
I was just following the rules. I came in with all the valid papers.
The volley! Yeah. It's so good! He's done it!
It's the miracle in Melbourne.
Novak Djokovic has been granted a visa allowing him to play in next year's Australian Open.
Fans who taunt Djokovic are on notice. Do so, and you'll be kicked out by security.
Carlos Alcaraz is out of the Australian Open.
I look at my ranking, it's giving me a lot of confidence, but on the other hand, I know that these are just the numbers. Anybody can win a Grand Slam right now.
Who is going to avoid Novak Djokovic? Daniel Medvedev's in the same court as Rafael Nadal.
It doesn't get much worse, I'm sorry.
Can Raducanu beat Coco Gauff in a second round bet?
Felix Auger-Aliassime will win the Australian Open. Iga Swiatek will win.
Aryna Sabalenka and Taylor Fritz. Yes. You heard it here first.
Novak Djokovic, a clear winner for me. So my projected semi-finals for the women's, Zheng against Pegula and Garcia against Samsonova.
I see Novak Djokovic holding his 10th Australian Open trophy this year. I see Maria Sakkari winning her first Grand Slam title at the Australian Open.
The Nicholas Kyrgios steam train is powering its way through to an Australian Open title win, and he's taken out Novak Djokovic on his way.
Hey, welcome back, tennis fans. It's quarter-final time. Can you believe it? We've already got over halfway through the competition and the final 8 remain. We will be going through the men's here today, and then the women's will be coming straight after. We've had fantastic matches. Obviously, we just capped off, I think it's day 8. And the 5 sets just keep on flowing and the surprises keep on coming as well, JG.
Yeah, we've seen some brilliant matches. Looking back into the last round, I think the real highlights are Rublev, Rune and Tsitsipas, Sinner. Both of them were epic in terms of watching what typifies a Grand Slam for me. 5 sets, goes all the way to the end, and you're not sure which way that 5th set's going to go. It wasn't like one of the players had loads of momentum going into it. Tsitsipas had the first 2 sets, Sinner come back and then held on in the 5th. And the other one, I mean, it was just one wins a set, the other wins a set. So both really dramatic matches, both showing a lot of fight and heart to get there. And I am really excited for these final 8 players to see who can lift this Australian Open title. Of course, the man everyone's talking about is Novak Djokovic. He is the man to beat. I think what we got to see early on today against Alex de Minaur shows that. He said after in the the post-match interview that there was no injury anymore. The injury is gone. His leg feels completely fine. He doesn't want to jinx it because he doesn't know how he will feel tomorrow. But during the match today against Alex de Minaur, there was no pain in his leg. He felt like he was playing perfectly. I think there was a little bit of a vendetta against Alex de Minaur because he was one of the people who spoke up against Novak Djokovic last year in Australia. And I feel he really did serve him off the court today because of that. And he had that little bit extra incentive to beat Alex de Minaur. But the Demon had no answers to Djokovic. There was nothing he could do. He played a lot on the front foot, which I thought was good, but Djokovic defended like we know he can. And he is the one out of the 8 to beat. I feel like it's him and then the other 7. But yeah, let's get into this video. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Alex de Minaur being served and maybe a little bit of humble pie after last year, having a bit of joke about the whole thing. I thought, like you just said, Djokovic was very, very good today. I'm so happy to hear that he didn't have any problems with the leg as well. But Alex de Minaur, you've got to go for it. It just shows today you have to beat Djokovic. You can't just play tennis with him because you won't win. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Jane in the live chat. Thank you for joining the membership. Appreciate that. The link is pinned in the live chat if anyone else wants to join. We've got Gary and saying, I watched 90% of the Tsitsipas Sinner match. It was so enjoyable and very high level. Great to see Steph stepping up instead of Steffing up.
I like that. That's what it's known as. I bet he won't like that. But you're right. But he does step up at the Australian Open. Semi-finals are his thing. Let's see if he can get to another one.
Yeah, exactly that. Let's have a look at the matches. I know we've got a nice graphic here. So these are the quarterfinals. So we've got Karen Khachanov, Sebastian Korda. We've got Stefanos Tsitsipas and Jiri Lehecka. So they are the 4 names at the top of the draw. So one of them 4 will be in the final, which is pretty big in itself. Of course, Steph, has he been to a final before? Well, let's wait. We'll ask Djokovic in a minute. Let's go down to the bottom half. We've got Andre Rublev, Novak Djokovic, and Ben Shelton, Tommy Paul. The only established matchup, let's be honest, is Andre Rublev Djokovic. I think before the tournament, if anyone got any of these quarterfinals aside from Rublev Djokovic, I wouldn't believe you.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, Lehecka. Funny enough, I was watching something the other day. I think Gil Gross had a little, not flutter, but he had a little word to say about Lehecka pre-tournament and said he was his sort of dark horse for that section. So well done to Gil Gross for calling that one. Whether he had him going as far as this, I don't know, but he still said he reckons that he could do something at this tournament, and he has done. Will he get past Tsitsipas? We'll give you our predictions at the end of this video, won't we?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to start. Well, I'll let you pick where we're going to start because I always choose.
Well, I know that we're all speaking about the big names and we keep on going through and we're saying like, oh, this is the only staple matchup. I want to start somewhere that we haven't really spoken about, which is Ben Shelton. I feel that we should start with him. He deserves some press. I think he's the real deal. That's the one thing he's confirmed coming into this is Ben Shelton is a force to be reckoned with and could well be going deep in Grand Slams in the coming years as well. Like he's already doing it. It's incredible. So here we go. This is the statistic that is up. Do you want to take us through this one?
Yeah, sure. So Ben Shelton's the first American man in 20 years to reach a major quarterfinal before turning 21. And that was Andy Roddick, 2003 Wimbledon. And I mean, more specifically, the Americans are doing amazing right now. I saw a stat earlier. I think it's 1 in 5 players inside the top 50 are American.
Incredible.
So there's just a lot of them at the moment. They're all coming through quickly. Ben Shelton, I think in June, was completely unheard of and just was playing in the college circuit. Wasn't even a professional athlete. And then look where he is now. It just goes to show in a short space of time, you can become a nobody to a complete hero. And when you're sort of following in the footsteps of Andy Roddick, then you know you're doing something very, very well. And the guy had never been outside of out of America until this event. He did play the one before in Australia, but this is the first time he's ever crossed the borders of America. And he's out here in Australia now, beating JJ Wolf. I know you could say, oh, it's not the toughest of opponents, but still was a good player. And he took it all the way to 5 sets and was able to do that. Another thing about Ben Shelton, I've got quite a bit to say about him, actually. His dad played tennis. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, his dad wasn't the worst player in the world either. There was some stat, but I don't know if you've got it up on the screen.
I can try and bring it up if you've sent it over.
I'll send it now.
Okay,
you can tell me your thoughts on Shelton.
Well, I just think that I didn't expect much from him for this tournament. I don't know why. I apologize to Ben. Being a fellow Ben, I should really have backed him a bit more, but I didn't. I thought maybe last year was maybe a little bit lucky. It's proved it's not. He's knocked out, well, I think the biggest one there on the way was Alexei Popyrin in straight sets. I thought that one was so good. JJ Wolf, I expected to push him. JJ Wolf is pretty good at Grand Slams, but that Popyrin one, I think he absolutely destroyed Popyrin.
Yeah,
and
I think regardless of that, though, Ben, let's not beat around the bush. Ben Shelton's had a very fortuitous draw. It's not been that tough. It could have been a lot tougher to get to a quarterfinal. I know it's his first Grand Slam, but listen, it's gone quite well for him.
A nice draw.
I don't know if he played. Did he play the US Open?
Yes, I believe he did.
Probably, I think he did. Yeah. So it's not his first. It's his first Australian Open. I should rephrase. We've got Theo in saying Shelton only turned pro about 6 months ago. He was ranked outside the top 500 this time last year. And it is a remarkable journey to where he is. And I think now, what's this? But this draw was something like world number 96. Yeah, he's not played many people. But I think now in the world, he's pushing, was he top 50? On his way.
Yeah, he's on his way up for sure. I mean, after this tournament, he's definitely going to be well up there. And like you said, littered with Americans in the top 50. He's just going to be another name in there. But that was his his first ever Grand Slam performance was against Nuno Borges, and he did lose in 5, which is still pretty good for a first Grand Slam appearance.
Yeah, and this is what the Tennis One app tweeted out. So 28 years and 7 months after Brian Shelton made the Wimbledon 4th round, his son, 20-year-old Ben Shelton, is into the Australian Open quarterfinals in just his second ever major appearance. And they wrote, sorry, Dad, he's got this one on you. And this is a photo of him and his dad. Pretty cool, because I didn't know his dad played, but you do see that story quite a lot in tennis where you have sort of a father and son both playing tennis. So I thought it'd be good to share it.
Most definitely, mate. Well, and Ben Shelton is going to be up against none other than another American. It seems that we've had so many American versus American matchups in this tournament, destined to have a semi-finalist, it would seem. So they're going to get at least one, and it's going to be from this semi-final. Tommy Paul took out Batista Agut. Someone not many people are really giving much chance to. Do you think that's fair? Tommy Paul, like, he's got this far. Should he not be given a fair, like, a chance to win the Australian Open?
I think winning it's a bit too far, because I don't see him getting past either Djokovic or Rublev, who's on that little bit there. But the Ben Shelton one, I make him favourite for sure. I think he is well established. He ended last year, if you don't remember, in very good form. There was in Paris, wasn't it? He beat Batista Agut there. He then beat Nadal and then Carreño Busta. And we was all laughing how he got the Spanish hat trick, beating 3 of the top Spanish players all in a row. So he was playing very well at the back end of this year or last year. And then this year he started strong. He beat Struff, Davidovich Fokina, and Jenson Brooksby, which I think is the most impressive one, because Brooksby was in good form and he knocked out a big player before as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember who that was?
Jenson Brooksby. I can
He
bring it up.
knocked out Casper Ruud. That's right. So he just beat out Casper Ruud, and then Tommy Paul knocked out Brooksby. So that was a big one. I think he's pretty established now on the circuit, whereas Ben Shelton isn't. I think he's got all of the shots. He seems hungry. He seems motivated. And he's another one who won today on a net cord.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that was going around today. Rublev had the same in his match, one on a net cord.
And I know we keep saying today, but is it even today? It is today for us in the UK, but probably not in Australia.
Very true. Yeah, I'm losing track of the time zone.
Yeah.
I'm
People
not sure
know what we mean. It's very confusing. In the UK, it did happen today, but not for many other people listening.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gone past midnight if you're in Australia now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. So Tommy Paul, I thought his really impressive win in this one. Yet again, like, you could say that this wasn't really the most impressive route to where he is in the draw, but he's still
tougher route than Ben Shelton's though.
Yeah, I think the Brooksby one, very tough. Davidovich Fokina in 5, that was the real test that he had. And I think Ben Shelton could push him to 5 as well. I think that one could be another 5-setter, if I'm perfectly honest. I was just going to have a look to see if they played each other before. That was what I was just trying to quickly have a look. They're both Americans. You'd expect that they would have done.
Yeah, but I think there's an age differential. I mean, there's no results I can see here on the head-to-head. But that's only because Ben Shelton's only been pro for about 6 months. But you never know. I'm sure they are familiar with each other. I'm sure they must have had some kind of hit together, or are familiar with friends who played each other, or there's got to be some links there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good match. let's not write Ben Shelton off. He will be the underdog. I think it could be close. We'll give our predictions in a moment. But let's move up one to Andre Rublev, Novak Djokovic. On paper, the biggest match of the quarterfinal. One which maybe people did predict. Everyone thought Djokovic was going to be here. Not so many people thought Andre Rublev. A lot of people thinking that was going to be either Holger Rune or Nick Kyrgios. Kyrgios pulled out before it started, and Holger Rune was defeated in cruel fashion against Andre Rublev. He had the match won about 6 times over, couldn't get it over the line. And rather than saying Rune bottled it, like some people are saying, I think you need to just give credit to Rublev. He worked so hard. He never gave up and pulled off some really big shots when he was down match point and in that super tie break. I know you was talking about it earlier. To come through that, he made the shots. He didn't just sit there and wait for Rune to just unleash the forehand. Rublev took it to him.
Definitely did. I was watching it. That's the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning. When I saw him go 5-love down in the super tie break, I just saw that look on his face where it was the look of despair of Andre Rublev. But I feel that when he went 5-love down, sort of like a weight sort of came off of his shoulders a little bit, and he just started playing a lot more freely. He got it all the way back. He ended up 7-3 up. Then it went obviously 7-all, and then it was a torrid time. It was an incredible match. I think those two, either of them deserved to go through. Holger Rune obviously had his match points, didn't take them. Bit passive. That's the only criticism I'd say to Holger Rune. He's just got to go for it in those big moments. I think he played into Rublev's hands too much, and then Rublev was able to serve it out and hold to force the tiebreak. But great match. Well done to David for covering that one. Yeah. Another 5-setter. Absolutely loves them. And well done to Rublev. His off-court interview. Was it off-court? No. On-court post-match interview was very funny. And he spoke to Eurosport as well. Do you want to take us through what Andre Rublev's been saying?
Yes, let's go for it. So this is what he had to say. So the only thing I kept repeating was, please don't do like at Roland Garros. There, I completely gave up when I was 7-2 down. I set out to win at least a couple more points. In the end, I added little by little until it becomes 7-6, and you already know how it ended. So there was a moment in his head when he was 7-2 down where he thought, uh-oh, here we go again, another Roland Garros. But this is why I'm really impressed with him, because what he did clearly here was just take point by point. It's what Rafa's been doing his whole career. Doesn't matter if you're down. Take each point as if it's your last. Work as hard as you can, and you never know. Your opponent could seize up in a big moment. As long as you can keep it competitive and keep winning them points in a super tiebreak as well, every point is worth so much. So I'm really impressed with his mental side of his game, Rublev, to come through that match, because over the years, there's no way he would have won this match. This is the first time you've seen him do something very unlike Andre Rublev, because we know he can hit a big forehand. We know he can play tennis and serve well. Can he get through these tough moments in a tennis match? Never seen it before until today. And let's move on to Novak Djokovic, because he's someone we've seen get through adversity a few times. He is the one to beat. We could probably do this whole podcast talking about Novak Djokovic. We watched him this morning, and he just dismantled de Minaur. It wasn't even a match. I think there was one point during the stream, someone in the live chat said it looks like Alex de Minaur is someone who's come off from the crowd and played, and someone who's been called up to play. I think that's harsh, but it just felt like a man versus a boy who'd never played tennis. And I mean that in the nicest way possible to de Minaur. Djokovic was so superior in every department. And if you're looking at it, he's been far superior than everyone this tournament. I don't know many who could come close. Maybe Seb Korda, because I think he's been also very impressive. But aside from that, there's not been many other names like who's been able to do what Djokovic has. And I've got a few stats here for him, because I feel like when we talk about these GOATs, we have to speak about the stats. And it is now his 13th Australian Open quarterfinal. It's his 54th Grand Slam quarterfinal. And the most impressive of all is it's now his 25th consecutive match win at the Australian Open, which is the joint second longest streak of men's singles wins at the Australian Open, behind Andre Agassi's streak of 26. So one more and he can tie with Agassi.
Well, Andre Rublev stands in the way. like you said, though, I think he is the obviously the guy to beat. The way that he just took apart Alex de Minaur. This is the first time they ever played, which was a bit of a surprise to both of us. And it can either go one of two ways when you play somebody for the first time. They can shock you, and then you think, "Oh no, I didn't realize they were going to be this good," or the opposite. He absolutely obliterated him and proved that he's just levels above Alex de Minaur. And I felt a bit sorry for Alex de Minaur. He was playing in front of his home crowd. They couldn't even really get behind him. He wasn't ever in any of the sets whatsoever. But I guess he will just have to go away, back to the drawing board, and maybe get some tips from Kyrgios. I don't know. I don't know what he could do.
No, it's not much you can do. There's not much you can do. I think he was a tad embarrassed.
Yeah.
He has always struggled against the top players as well. There was a stat kicking about how he's been against sort of top 5, top 10 opponents in the past. It's not the prettiest of readings. He needs to definitely improve that side of his game when he plays up against these top players. But then there's good players and there's Novak Djokovic. And ultimately, there's a big difference between being a top 5 player and then playing Djokovic, even then. And he couldn't handle it. It was his first time. He's not going to want to play him again anytime soon, that's for sure. And there was that quote I did read out from Andre Agassi some time ago, which I'm going to read it out again because I do really like it. And that's, if you gave me Djokovic's game, the hardest part about winning a tournament would be going to sleep at night because I'd be so excited to play the next day. And that is just how it feels right now, because in terms of him winning the match, it's not really in doubt. It's just whether or not how he does it, in what manner he's going to do it. And even you've got Jim Curry here asking, I'm not going to ask you how you beat him so convincingly. I'm going to ask you why you beat him so convincingly. And he paused, smirked, and said, because I wanted to.
Fair enough, isn't it? I think that's a funny one. Curry are always a good interviewer. And I like
Great
that.
interviewer, by the way. Shout out to him. He's one of the people sort of in the tennis media now who I think does an excellent job. And I find him very funny, witty, great questions, confident, brilliant at his job. I love watching someone who does a really good job at things, and he's certainly one of them people.
Oh, most definitely. He's the best in the game. That's for sure. Great to see somebody transition from being a top tennis player and having a great personality. I'd love it if he was at all the tournaments. Bring him to Wimbledon. I'd like to have him there. Anyway, let's move on. We've spoken about Djokovic in depth, as I knew we would. Next up.
Well, there is one more. What transitions onto the next one. And it was Novak Djokovic, what he had to say after the match, because there was another thing he did say. So this is from Relevant Tennis. I recommend giving them a follow on Twitter. They're a really good account of all of the tennis news. And it was a bit strange. So this is Djokovic. He said, I know Tsitsipas, the most experienced guy out of all of the quarterfinalists. He has played already the final stages of a Grand Slam quite a few times, but I think he has never played a final. And then the questioner or the interviewer said, you beat him at Roland Garros. He was like, oh, that's right, my bad.
How do you forget beating him in a Grand Slam final? But maybe he was being a little bit cheeky there. I don't know. Just underplaying it or saying, oh, I couldn't remember. I've been in so many Grand Slam finals. Just one of those.
Do you think he generally forgot?
It might be possible to forget. He has.
No, I think he did. I think he forgot. I don't think he's. You think he's trolling and just trying to do it? Because there's some people saying he's trying to get into Tsitsipas's head. I genuinely just think he forgot that he'd played him in a Grand Slam final.
It was quite an epic final. I don't know. He's been in quite a few, so I would
understand. Would you say this is disrespectful? Jamie's throwing it out there. Is this disrespectful from Djokovic to forget who he played in a final and say that Tsitsipas has never reached one when he even played? He was the one who played him in one.
I think it's just a trolling, but I don't know. I think that Tsitsipas might see it as a little bit of just fun, to be honest. It could be seen as disrespectful, but when you've played as many Grand Slam finals as him, you have the allowance to say, oh, I maybe forgot that one.
Yeah, I genuinely think that he did forget, but that's just my opinion on it. Got Gary and saying the rigors of getting old. Novak asked the press, am I right that Steph has never played a Grand Slam final? Yeah. Maybe it just happens in life. You should know about that, Ben.
I do. I know all well and good. I can't remember what happened yesterday. So knowing what happened in a Grand Slam final a few years back, that's even tougher.
Yeah, but that, like you say, is a nice segue to move on to Tsitsipas, and he will be facing Yuri Lehecka. And like you said, Gil Gross fancied him to go very far. He has gone far. He is another name who you could be putting into contention of maybe reaching the top 10. He's only 21 years old. He played in the Next Gen finals last year. I think he's impressive. We've been watching him in the Challengers for a few years. He's great on clay. He's good on hard courts. Just an overall top player who will be on the tour for many years to come if he can keep fit, touch wood. He has the game. Can he beat Tsitsipas? I'm not so sure. But still, he's beaten some big players to get here.
Yeah, and that just tees me up nicely for this tweet by Gil Gross saying, has anyone picked up a more impressive collection of victories at this Australian Open than Lehecka, Coric, Eubanks, Norrie, and Felix Auger-Aliassime? I don't think so. I think that is probably the best list that I've seen. Coric, I don't know. Did many people have him beating Coric in the first round?
Not many. Not many. And I regret it massively. And I feel if you're looking at sort of the names you wasn't expecting to be there, you'd have to say Lehecka and Ben Shelton have got to be right at the bottom. Ben Shelton's had a nice draw to reach that part.
Yep.
Lehecka hasn't. He's had to play the who's who to get there. I mean, Felix is a tough player. Norrie's a tough player. Eubanks, okay, fair enough. It's not the toughest. But Borna Coric, first round, is tough as well. So he's had to beat some really big players to get there. So fair play to him. Tsitsipas, have we spoke about him? He beat Yannick Sinner in the last round. He's looking all right. Medvedev's out of that section now. He is the most established in that top half of the draw. Can he do it? That's what we need to find out. And he's many times fallen short at the big stage. He has reached the Grand Slam final, as Djokovic told us earlier. But he said in his interview, it's for sure my home slam. Definitely. He speaks about the support he receives in Australia, and it's like it's his favourite Grand Slam. I thought it would have been Roland Garros because he does very well on the clay courts. I think maybe clay's his strongest surface. I know he doesn't like Wimbledon. He hardly gets a result at Wimbledon. Yeah. And the US Open, it's been okay, but nothing like the Australian Open and Roland Garros. But yeah, it seems like Australia is where he loves it. And he beat Rafa not too long ago as well here. Or was it a few years back when he was 2 sets down and come back to win that in 5? He lost, I believe it was a semi-final recently as well to Medvedev. He often plays Medvedev and loses, I feel, at the Australian Open. Maybe the same at the US as well. Medvedev's that guy who just beats him and just ruins his hopes. Medvedev's out. He doesn't need to worry about Medvedev. Korda's already dispatched him. So he should be feeling extremely confident and on paper should be making the final.
You would think so, but it's never that simple. He does have overwhelming support, I think. All of the people in that top section, or maybe even all the people left in, Tsitsipas, I've heard the most cheering for. There's a massive Greek contingent that is in Australia, as we know. Very, very popular there with Greeks and Cypriot born people. And to hear that, I felt like it was a 20,000 John Silks. It was on that call, all going, Tsitsipas, Tsitsipas, Tsitsipas. No, it was rocking. And he's going to be like that for every single match of his now. If he can get to that final, the crowd might be the difference. And who's to say he doesn't win his first Grand Slam at the Australian Open? That would be, wouldn't expect it. I think we both would have said Roland Garros would be the first one, but maybe it's here.
Yeah, exactly that. Let's move on. Shout out to City Bert for the super chat. Appreciate that. Saying being a Yank TP should know Shelton, but go BS. Being a Yank, Tommy Paul should know Shelton, but go Ben Shelton. Understand now.
God, you're confusing us. We are. Right, anyway, we've got the top one now, and it's Seb Korda against Karen Khachanov. Khachanov, as we know, I'm going to go back to Gil Gross. He's been popping out a load of good tweets, and not that one. Apologies, just been to that one. That's this one. Karen Khachanov has now completed the career quarterfinal Grand Slam And I thought that there were some other bits that were noted on this that he didn't include, that people who hadn't done this yet were actually the likes of Medvedev, Dominic Thiem. There were some big names in this list, and he has done it, which is impressive.
Yeah, he's done them all, and all in recent years as well, because US Open was last year, and he even went one better and got to the semi-final, if you remember correct.
Yeah.
Wimbledon was quarterfinal 2021, and of course 2023 Australian Open. So he's done it all now. Can he go that step further? He did it in US, so he's actually doing very well. Like the last few slams, he's been the guy who's impressed a lot of people and done better than what others thought. I didn't think he would be getting here again. And look who he's beaten. He completely demolished Nishioka. 2 bagels.
It was ridiculous.
I don't know if there was an injury. I didn't get to see it live or anything. But then the third set was a tiebreak. So maybe he makes you think it wasn't an injury and he just played very good.
Yeah.
He'll be super confident going into that match, certainly. But he's playing, I would say, the second best player in this event to Novak Djokovic in Seb Korda.
Yes.
And Seb Korda has played Khachanov a few times. He's beaten him on his last 2 meetings. The one before Khachanov won. They're very close, like tie break 7-5, like tight sets. This one could be an epic. They've both got really good serves. It's going to be a tough match. I think Korda in a rally has a little bit more, though. He's got that versatility. He's beaten Daniel Medvedev. I think Daniel Medvedev's brilliant practice for Khachanov because he's a better version of Khachanov. He does everything he does, but better. So if you can beat Med, you can beat Karen as well.
I think you're right. I think that his servings looked brilliant in this tournament. He's continued it on from the Adelaide one where he nearly beat Novak Djokovic. It was so close. Djokovic admitted he was the second best on the day. Korda should have won, and he just got a little bit lucky, I think, just because Korda couldn't get it over the line and Djokovic just outlasted him. I think that
Another American as well.
Another American. It's like saying here, Christopher Clary. This one you sent me, I thought was quite interesting. And I haven't looked it up anything either since reading it. So I was going to hope that we can all have a go at this one. 3 American men in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. Last time it happened was in 2000. Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi, who was the third. No searching, Googling, please. And I haven't done any searching or Googling, so I'm going to try and rack my brains of who this could be. I had one that came to mind. I'm not sure if it's right, though. So
we'll go on then, because I'm not going to guess.
Okay.
I'm too young.
Okay, I was going to go with Mardy Fish. Is that right?
Okay. I don't know. If you scroll down, I'm sure there will be an answer.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think to do that. That's how much I use... Chris Woodruff. Okay, so I got that wrong.
Yeah, I think that was a tough one. Not many people would have got it. We've got a few Courier shouts. Roddick. No, it wasn't Roddick. It wasn't Jim Courier. It was, in fact, Chris Woodruff. So well done to anyone who got that at home. Little live Q&A for you. Ben springing on us. And I've got another one from Chris Clary. Let me see if I can share it.
Okay.
It's all the Americans. Don't worry, it's not a Q&A question, this one.
I don't mind. I quite like them, even if I do get them wrong.
All of the Americans inside the top 50. So I know I said it's 1 in 5. That's because there's going to be 10 of them. Taylor Fritz, Francis TFO, Seb Korda, Tommy Paul, Brooksby, Isner, Shelton, Wolf, Opelka, and Nakashima. So some really young ones in there as well, like Shelton, Brooksby, Nakashima, Korda. The future's bright. You got John Isner there, 37. He's almost double a Ben Shelton now. It's crazy.
It's like his dad or something. Playing on tour. No. Oh, there's a nice embrace between Fritz and TFO. Don't they? They have a bit of a funny.
Well, they won the United Cup as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
The Americans are the ones to beat right now
as well. Doing really well on the women's side. There's just one more we need to go through with this matchup, though, and I know it's one that you really wanted to speak about, so I will bring this one up last, and it's obviously about Sebastian Korda. So take it away.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk about it because Seb Korda has won my heart a lot this event, and I really like this moment. So every time he comes out on court, he's been touching the board with his father's name, because of course he was a champion 25 years ago. So as you enter Rod Laver Arena, you've got all of the sort of the light boards with all of the names of the winners. One thing on that as well, it's just remarkable when you see Novak Djokovic's name and all of the dates. Same with Roger Federer as well. Nadal's on there a few times now too. It is crazy to see. And then you've got, of course, Peter Korda. Every time he walks past, he gives it a little touch when he's walking onto Rod Laver. And when he's been doing it, he's been winning. So for the next one, it will be on Rod Laver. It'll be against Karen Khachanov. Will he touch it? Of course he will. Will it work again? I'm hoping it does.
It's very, very interesting, though. I like it, though. That's just...
I love a little superstition, and this is one of them.
I say this is
straight out of Netflix.
Well, it's not going too well for Netflix. I don't put him anywhere near Netflix if you can, because we want to see Korda do well in this tournament, and Netflix has jinxed everybody.
Yeah, just quickly on Netflix, Theo's asking, are we going to be speaking about the Netflix curse? We will, once we review the whole series. Me and Ben will be doing an episode or two after the Australian Open, speaking about the Netflix series which has just come out. We're going to watch it, and then straight after watching it, come on here and share all our thoughts with you guys. So stay tuned for that. That will come after the Australian Open.
Yes, that is correct. I'm quite interested to see, because that one's quite a tough matchup. I don't know if these two have ever played each other before either, but I can do a quick little bit.
I just spoke about that. Khachanov Korda.
Which one?
What match are you talking about?
Yeah. When was the last time they played?
They played 3 times. Last one was in Antwerp, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Korda has won the last 2.
Oh,
I didn't go through the head-to-head.
Oh, apologies.
I think you were doing something else.
Apologies. That's typical me, trying to do things behind the scenes and not listening. But that's
good.
fine.
I think it's time for the predictions anyway, because we've got the
it.
women's one coming up.
Yep.
And
let's go.
where do you want to start? I think we start where we left off. Karen Khachanov, Seb Korda. What's your prediction, Ben?
Korda in 4.
Korda in 4, eh? Well, that's annoying. I'm going to also go Seb Korda in 4. It is annoying because that's the same. That's exactly why I think exactly the same. I think Karen's good for a set. It'll be a tie break, but Korda will win in 4 sets.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, that was guaranteed to happen now. Next one, I'm actually going to go here. Tsitsipas in 5.
That's nuts. I'm going to go Steph in 3. I think Lehecka has done well. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think Steph's going to turn it on now. I think this is his moment. We're going to see a different Steph. I think he gets it done in straight sets.
Well, the crowd will be on his side, that's for sure. That he will have an extra man on the court. Andre Rublev versus Novak Djokovic. I'm going to be going for... I think it's going to be Djokovic in straight sets. I'm sorry, Rublev fans.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be an absolute epic. Rublev 2 sets up. Rublev 2 sets up. Djokovic is going to come back and just show fight, resolve, and that brilliant level we've seen. He's going to start a bit shaky, Djokovic, and then just find that rhythm. And by the end of it, we're going to be seeing Alex de Minaur, Djokovic. And I reckon he'll cream Rublev in the 5th, 6-1. Bit like the Sinner. I'm going with the Sinner Wimbledon one. Djokovic against Sinner at Wimbledon. It just got easier and easier as it went on. Massetti at Roland Garros. It's going to be the same with Rublev. Rublev 2 sets up. Djokovic creams him in the next 3.
He does it to gingers. We've seen him do it once.
He doesn't like a ginger nut. He just likes storming them.
Yeah, that's it. We've got a few other ones in the live chat here. We've got Khachanov in 4 from Gene. We've got MJ Korda in 3, so going different ways. We've got this one, I think Gene's just hoping for more than anything. Lehecka in 4, hoping that Tsitsipas goes out. That's a big Djokovic fan. Joker in 3, says so iconic. And Djokovic in 4. And that's what Gene is going for. So we've got the last but not least, Ben Shelton, Tommy Paul. I'll let you go first on this one.
I love Ben Shelton. Let me just clarify that. I think this is going to be a step too far for him. I think it's come a little bit too soon. He's only been on the tour for 6 months. Give him a little bit more time. And I think he's just happy. He's got to the quarterfinal. It's an incredible achievement. He's not had to play anyone that difficult yet. Hopefully he's going to be here for many more years to come. I'm sure he can be if he stays fit and injury-free. On this match, though, I see Tommy Paul winning it, and I'm going to have Tommy Paul winning in 4.
Okay, I'm going to be going Ben Shelton to just keep on keeping on. He's got my
Oh,
name.
so now you're getting behind the Bens.
That's it. Well, I've been rude not to. Well, that'll probably ruin it for him if I start getting behind him. But I'm going to go Shelton in 5.
Shelton in 5. 5
Yeah.
set madness.
Frenzy. 5 set madness.
That's
Just
going to be
your
on
move.
Carvy's Corner later on.
It will be.
Well, there we go. That's all our predictions. So that means from the top, we'll be having Korda Tsitsipas. On the bottom, I'm going to be having Djokovic Paul. You're going to be having Djokovic Shelton.
Imagine.
So only one difference, really.
Yeah, but we just got different ways of getting there. Djokovic Shelton is the one I really want to see because I think it will cause the most headlines as well. Ben Shelton, it's the first time he's ever left America. He might be leaving a few more times after this tournament.
Yeah, we're going to see him around the globe from here on out. But let's wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode. If you haven't already, give us a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and join us for all of these quarterfinal matches. We will be covering them all on the channel. If you want a nice tennis weekly roundup, hopefully they'll be coming after the Australian Open. But today we have daily ones from Carvy's Corner, and he'll be taking you through all of the action on day 7 or 8. I'm losing track of the time.
It's 8 now.
I think maybe day 8, and Carvey will be going through that on Carvy's Corner in about 4 to 5 hours' time.
That's correct. But yeah, we'll see for the women's one. Don't go anywhere. Make sure to join the women's predictions. That's coming up next. I think that one's going to be even more difficult. See you on that one.
See you soon.